Hey good people, it is Milmo here, and as you can see, I've rocked on into my survival road depot, and the reason being is I've got a super sale on an epic basically, and I'm damn well purchasing it because I've got this greatest fear that if I don't purchase it now, it may never come up again. So I'm not living in regret. I am going balls deep and getting this revived Jesus. Now, if I'm completely honest with you, when it comes to the two epics you can actually get in the survival road depot, I really wanted Ezekiel. You know, here's the only other epic you can actually get in this supply or this tab of the supply depot. The reason being is I'm a very heavy melee roster, so I have a very heavy melee roster and I'm very dependent on my melees, so I was sort of looking to strengthen that effectiveness of my melees and my overall defense teams, attack teams and things like that, because I'm very dependent on my melees, I'm not gonna lie. So you know, Ezekiel has this 45 AP, absolutely awesome, very fast, can't get any better than that. Well, I guess 44 you can, but anyway, 45 is pretty good. And then, you know, all teammates get plus 60% attack, plus 60% defense for 4 turns. That's sweet! I want some of that. And then, you know, also heals 25% of max HP for 2 turns, so a multi-round healer. Now, if you compare him to the original medium bonus to drop rates Ezekiel, who is also a green, you know, he's fairly similar, but they sort of take that extra 20% from the attack and then put it on the defense and even it out. So instead of 80-40, you got 60-60, which is pretty cool. They also lengthened the turn rate on it, so you know, you can't really complain about that at all. I think it's a nice little update to be having on this Ezekiel. I've got to make him different slightly, right? And also he heals, so you know, that's a pretty good aspect. And you know, it was just all these things that I was like, I must have him right now. Give me one Sculpey. Just give me one. But they didn't. Unfortunately, the Super Sale Jesus come up first. I basically said to myself, both these characters are awesome. I'm not denying that both these characters are awesome and very decent for any roster. They will come in very handy. So I was pretty much said to myself, any character that came on sale first, and I mean by sale either extreme or a super sale, I was jumping in and grabbing them, which it was Jesus here. And it was sort of that point, like I said with Ezekiel, and the way you probably heard me talk about him, I wanted him. I really desired that Ezekiel for all of my team, and it had this image of just strengthening that bit more, which is, you know, who doesn't like strengthening their teams. But when Jesus come up, I actually realized I needed him. I never looked at this Jesus in that way. I didn't realize I actually needed him to fill a void in my roster that I have. I'm very weak when it comes to my range. Like, I'm not gonna like downplay it or anything. Like, I'm fairly weak. Like, I do have a lot of nice range characters and a lot of good range characters, but I'm definitely, it's not to the same standard as my melees. My range is nowhere near close to my melees, and the biggest aspect in which my team and my roster does struggle is with my range, you know, criteria. So here's something that ticks that box. He is a range. He's also a reviver, which is something I do not have in my ranged area. I have melee revivers, you know, the 2 Herschels, but I don't have a ranged one, so you know, that's pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with getting a ranged blue who does not only 3, you know, damage, the 325% damage there, but also 150 bleeding for the 2 turns. So not bad to a line of enemies, so he can hit the 2, which is nice. 56 AP, not as fast as Ezekiel, but still a decent AP rate, and you know, you can definitely build that up with weapons and leaders and things like that and get it that bit quicker. So it was sort of that point I realized I had a need and a want basis. So my want was Ezekiel, but my need was Jesus. I ultimately was just going with whatever one came up on sale first, and Jesus actually come up. So I don't know if that's, you know, the universe's way of telling me take what you need rather than you want. I have no idea, but I'm definitely in this case taking what I need. And I think the way in which you view these characters and which one you desire the most will depend on your roster. Like, the reasons I outlined for needing a character maybe something you're not looking for, or have an area, that you're not really weak in, and you may not give two shits about neither of these characters and just get whichever one comes up first. Which isn't a bad idea. I probably recommend getting the first one that comes on sale, because like I said, I have a pretty good fear that they may not come on sale too often if it's anything like the Supply Depot. If we can learn anything from the Supply Depot, it is the more points you have, or the more markers you have, the less sales you will get, because the more you can afford characters. Also, sales just don't come up very often, so you got to jump for them, or you're going to be paying full price, which would piss me off. I hate paying full price, so I would, first sale I was jumping into. In comparing the two characters, I think the major differences are their rushes. You look at their stats, look at Jesus's here, they're fairly similar to Ezekiel. Ezekiel has 818 attack, 765 defense, and 1150 HP, so very similar stats, very similar leader skills also. They slightly differ, but really, really similar. I guess the major differences are in that rush, and you may like certain aspects of certain rushes like I was discussing before, and you may desire one a lot more for your roster than the other, but nonetheless, I'm definitely jumping in and grabbing this one, because like I said, I have this, if the Supply Depot has taught me anything, it's that you've got to take the chances you get, because they don't come along very often in this game. So like I said, balls deep getting this guy. Even though I don't have balls, I'll imagine them up for this stake. So let's go ahead and confirm this. Spending 175, 200, sweet. We will take that. There we are. Epic Jesus. Man, I have a lot of Jesuses. I just realised I have so many Jesus. Could do a Jesus-a-thon. There's so many Jesuses in my roster. The green, blue, everything. Just everything Jesus. I think there's only a couple of Jesuses, mainly the yellow ones in the epic department that I don't have. I have the rest, but just not those two. But like I said, definitely my advice when it comes to this, it'll probably take me 10 years to level him up, depending on how well those multi-knife sales go. But my best advice for you when it comes to the survival road markers, get the character when you can on sale, because you don't know how often it's going to come up. But as always, hope you did enjoy it.